who are parenting autism. All of our parents who are on the panel tonight have a child or children who's diagnosed with autism. And April is Autism Awareness Month, and today is the last day of Autism Awareness Month. So there's been various activities going on throughout the month of April, and we wanted to end the month with this blue table talk to kind of give information. Can you all hear me? Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me now. But as I
Yes.
mentioned, we have a panel of parents who we will be speaking with tonight, kind of do a Q&A, and just have a conversation about our journey dealing with autism, some of the challenges as well as the joys that we've faced during our journey. So what I'm going to do, and again, my name is Adria Cooper Neesmith. I am going to pass it over to Miss Chastity Charles, who will take us through our question and answer session tonight.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. As Dre stated, I am Chastity Charles, and it's an honor and a privilege for me to be here as a learner and as an advocate as we create autism awareness. I know that it can be disheartening to hear the stigma that presents itself as autism continues to be something that we have to advocate for ourselves and the community locally. And so I'm excited because I get to tap into my inner Oprah and have a conversation with each of you who I consider subject matter experts to share more about your journey. We have a variety of different questions. They'll go anywhere from the diagnosis, early stages, the daily life and routines, education and advocacy, emotional and family life, as well as community and support. And if at any time there's questions that you feel we haven't asked, I definitely want to create an inclusive conversation so that we can hear from everyone. What I would like to do, right, because this journey is one that you all have been on. Let's get started with some introductions. And I can't see at this point, okay, there we go, everyone's name. But let's get started. I would like for you to give your name as you introduce yourself and give the age of your kids currently that have autism. So I'm just going to go based upon the order that is on my screen. Again, I thank all of you for bearing with me. And let's start with Miss Jessica. Why don't you introduce yourself and give us the age of your kids as well?
Hi, my name is Jessica Gathers, and my kids' name is Randy and Rylan Cooper. They're twin and they're 9 years old.
Yes. All right, Eric.
Yes, my son is 17 years old, and my name is Eric Morton, and his name is Gerard.
Thank you, Eric. And I can see the contact information for you, Eric, for families to follow up with as well. I can mentoring24 at gmail.com. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
All right, next, Bree.
My name is Brianna Van Host. My son name is Cairo, and he's 5.
My husband's name is Cario, and a lot of people say Cairo, so I like that name, Bree.
Yes.
All right, Wayne and Latanya, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Latanya and Wayne. Our son is William, and he is 14.
Thank you. Good evening, Miss OJ.
Hi, I'm Octavia. I have a 10-year-old daughter. Her name is Leah Grace Johnson, and she's on the moderate end of the spectrum.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is you can hear me. My daughter's on her iPad by me. But I have a daughter, she's 4, she'll be 5 at the end of May. And her name's Ava Louise.
Thank you, Ms. Shaquetta. I will tell you that your audio did sound just a little bit challenged, but I understand that your daughter wants to be near you as well. Good
Hello,
evening.
hi, hello everyone. My name is Tiffany, and my son is 14. His name is Jameson.
Thank you, Miss Tiffany.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley. My son is 18 years old, and his name is Cameron.
Thank
And
you.
autism is actually a second diagnosis for him.
All right. And I think that although Drea is not fully participating on the panel, I think it would definitely be great for her to share more about those phenomenal boys she has as well.
All right. Again, my name is Adrea. I have two boys on the spectrum, Tron, who is 14, and Andre is 13.
Thank you, Drea. Okay, so I think that's everyone. Again, thank you for joining. But let's get started with diagnosis and early stages. Um, Again, because I would need a visual, just let me know when you want to answer. But let's talk about, how did you first recognize signs that your child might be on the autism spectrum? Wayne and Latanya.
Okay, for us, it was when he went to his preschool. Being an only child, we did not recognize, in the house how he was always wanting to be by himself or wanting to have his toys in a particular order. Just being that only child, we just did not catch on it. And being educators, we did not catch on to it. So it was when he went to his preschool at 2, going on 3, um, being around the other kids, they called a meeting with us and kind of told us these are some signs that they're seeing with him, wanting to be by himself, being repetitive with his toys. So it was his preschool that gave us that kind of nudge as parents, to say, hey, something may be going on. And then we went from there to get his diagnosis and early intervention.
Thank you. We're going to talk more about what that diagnosis process was like, but I want to see whom else would like to add their perspective to what and how did they first recognize the signs as well. OJ, I think I saw your hand earlier.
So my 10-year-old who's on the spectrum, I have two older kids older than her. And when she was 6 months, it was a regression. She was singing along to something one day, and the next day she just wasn't. So I had the older kids. I'm like, something's not right. At the time I was married, my husband and I were like, something's not right. But for a year, maybe 8 months, we did not go and get that diagnosis. We finally went to BabyNet, and BabyNet was like, have you ever heard of something called autism? We were like, no. But his aunt actually was on the spectrum. So we were able to kind of identify some of the things that she had dealt with as a child, to go with our daughter. And we finally took her to behavioral analysis at MUSC, and that's when they diagnosed her with autism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, OJ. All right. Whom else would like to add input to the signs?
I can go. Can you hear me better now?
I hear you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so my daughter was a pretty advanced baby to me. I had her during COVID, and there was a lot of my friends that had children around the same time. And Ava was kind of advanced. She would do high fives. She would say little words. She was hitting all of her goals, and then all of a sudden, it just stopped. At first, I thought it was because she was a COVID baby. We were in the house. We weren't interacting with a lot of families. We were by ourselves the entire time. but it still kind of bothered me. Like, I don't know, something's not right. So I put her in daycare and paid attention to her and the other children. And I said, yeah, let me try to get her in speech and see if that will help her, because she went completely nonverbal from like saying little baby words. She went nonverbal. So I put her in speech. Once I realized she still never found her voice, then I contacted BabyNet and we went from there. But it was kind of the regression that she went through that made me realize that, okay, I think we need additional testing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, Jaquita. Jaquita, it sounds like BabyNet is a common resource for early diagnosis. When we think about that experience through the diagnosis process, who would like to elaborate on what their experience was during the diagnosis process? Bree?
So when I went through the diagnosis process, I really wasn't because in my head I already saw the signs, so I really wasn't in denial about it. Um, I just knew that I had to get him the help that he needed. So it really wasn't a hard process, but it was at the same time. But I knew I needed to do what I had to do.
Mm-hmm. And was there anything, Bree, while you're there that you wish you would have known at the time of diagnosis?
Um, I really wish I would have educated myself more, I guess, because I didn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Um, whom else would like to share more about what their experience was during the diagnosis process? Eric, thank you.
Mine was denial. Um, my wife was more the persistent one, so she always did the research. But me personally, I think as a father, I was more in denial because I played sports and I coached sports, and every father just wanted to play sports, but he wouldn't participate. But he was diagnosed early in elementary school, but it was diagnosed when he was in the gym, because every time he would come in the gym, he would start screaming. So that's how we learned the process of how to handle to get him help. So my process was denial, and once my wife talked to me, then I opened up more and I was more understanding of it. So and then I started paying attention to things as well.
Mm-hmm. And from everything that I've learned throughout my journey of just being curious and a learner, I think denial is a common first step, Eric. So you're not alone in that. Was there anything particular that you wish you would have known during or at the time of diagnosis?
Uh, I think no, not really, because my wife is the opposite. She she had all the information, so I just wish I had just was more open to the diagnosis, because it was almost like foreign language to me when they said autism.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just getting an understanding of it and knowing that, but he's on on the high spectrum side, so and he's doing hello.
Mm-hmm. And from everything that I've learned, diagnosis and the early stages can be some of the most challenging aspects of a parent's journey. Whom else might want to share more about what their experience was like during the diagnosis process? Miss Tiffany?
I would say with our diagnosis, I would say the first thing, with Jameson, when we first got him diagnosed, we had to take him to his pediatrician to be able to get a referral to get a diagnosis. And I would say, again, I wish people, doctors and everyone would educate themselves about autism, because my child's pediatrician, when I took him, told me there was nothing wrong with my son. He said that there was nothing wrong with him, that he would be fine, that Jameson just wanted his way. And I would even say my family members, being uneducated at the time, wasn't aware of signs of autism, and they would say, nothing was wrong with my son. He was fine. And again, they particularly say, he just wanted his own way. So, but I would say the biggest thing is once you do get the diagnosis, like you said, making sure you educate yourself and educate your family and people around you so they know. Because if I would have listened to my child's pediatrician, I probably would have never got a diagnosis early. And early intervention is definitely the key with autism.
Absolutely. You have to advocate. Thank you so much for sharing, Miss Tiffany. And so let's talk
If I can
about,
piggyback for a second on
oh,
that,
yes, absolutely.
Chastity, because as Tiffany stated, I experienced the exact same thing with my pediatrician. The pediatrician told us with my first son that was that, it didn't matter that he wasn't meeting all of the milestones because he hadn't started school yet. This pediatrician just felt like, it wasn't a concern and we should just keep pretty much moving forward with everything that we were doing with him. So I absolutely experienced the same thing. And as you stated, you have to advocate. And that's what we did to, make sure that he finally got his diagnosis.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Drea. Any other comments regarding just the diagnosis process from the panel? Okay. Lots of great conversations that we're going to continue to have. Let's talk more about daily life and the routines that are involved. So, what routines and strategies have helped your child the most in their daily life? Oh, Jay, you may be talking. I'm not certain if you are. Oh, okay. Sorry. You're talking to your audience. Thank you. All right. Miss Wayne and Latanya, what routines and
So,
strategies have helped in daily
yeah,
life?
and I think it is more of his therapist and William teaching us his strategies and routines because with him starting like we started with baby net and then transition, we were blessed to transition straight into ABA therapy. So I always tell everybody William is such a compliant child because he's had that structure of being in therapy since he's been 3. He was just graduated out of ABA, I guess you would say, when he turned 12, 13. So we just make sure with his routines, he's aware of what's going on. Like if we're going to change something up or we're going to create something different, we just make sure that we tell him in advance, just prepping him to know what. So, and he's at the point now, he always wants to know his schedule. And just an example, we were driving to school on Monday. Now, most kids, we still have a month left in school, and he's already saying, summer camp, daddy's going to be driving me. And I'm trying to explain to him, no, this year it may look different. And he was like, no, he said, daddy always drives me. So he is so conditioned and trained. So we kind of follow his lead with routines and just making sure he has all the information up front.
Mhm. Routines are so important, and it is a team sport as well. What other dialogue would you all like to add or new perspectives to the routines or strategies that's helped your child the most? Okay. And then when you think about the sensory sensitivities and the meltdowns that can happen if there's not, the awareness of routines or various aspects of your child's day, how do you handle those sensory sensitivities or meltdowns? What might you share? Jessica.
Like what Randy, when he has his tantrum, we normally got to tell him like to breathe, do exercises, breathe in, breathe out to help him calm down from having a harder day. Definitely when he's at school during a tantrum.
Mhm. Great insight. OJ.
We have to be very gentle. When we realize a meltdown is coming on, we have to get extremely gentle with her and realize what's going on and kind of bring her back down to ground zero, because a meltdown for us can last hours. You know what I mean? Like days, not days, I'm being exaggerant, but it can be really, we had one at church. She wasn't able to finish coloring. And for the rest of the day, she was just like, I just didn't get to finish. She was so upset. So we're gentle with her. We're like, hey, it's okay. We're gonna be okay. It's okay. Okay, we'll go home. We'll color when we get home. But we have to take that gentle parenting up front, because that meltdown could last all day.
Great advice, ladies. What I'm hearing is breathing exercises, gentle parenting. Any other perspectives to the conversation? Miss Ashley?
My son is definitely into electronics. If he does not have his phone or tablet, he can get very upset. That is a part of his everyday routine. Um, I would say it's probably one of my least favorite things, because when I try to introduce him to new things or get him to do new things, he's not interested at all, because he is in the routine of grabbing his phone or his tablet first thing in the morning, and the only time he's at school. And then, when he gets home from school or we get home from work and school, then it's phone and um, basically electronics the whole day. So that is, one thing that we struggle with, but it's also, for lack of better words, a pacifier for him when he's feeling uncomfortable, or just for him to relax in general. Electronics is what works for me.
Mhm. And that's the thing. It's not a one size fits all approach, Ashley. So you're finding what routines and strategies work for your baby. And when you think about just social situations and how those transitions can impact the children, how do you all support your kids or your child in social situations or during transitions? Bree.
Like OJ said, I have to be very gentle with Cairo because me yelling and me fussing, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So I do have to be very gentle. And that helps in a lot of situations. It gives him a better understanding, and it helps him to control his emotions. And he also likes compression. Like if I give him a tight hug, it helps calm him down.
Hmm. Thank you, Bree. Great perspective. Okay. Miss Tiffany, did I see your hand?
Yes, yes. I was just going to echo off what she just said. Like my son, he loves compression, so he always asks for a hug when he needs it. And as far as with transitioning, if we notice that he's getting upset, definitely me getting upset doesn't help the situation. So talking to him in a calm way and getting him to calm down helps him with, transition, or if he's in an area that is upsetting to him.
Hmm. Absolutely. Gentle parenting is such a huge component. I just admire each of you for tapping into your superpower when I'm certain that that's not the easiest thing to do. And when you think about the fact that where you're at today and the perspective that you're sharing with the audience today is because you've learned through your own life experience from an education and advocacy standpoint, how did you find the right educational setting or support for your child? Bree, you're on mute. Bree, you might still be on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
There
had it on
you
mute. I apologize. I was just saying that I've been lucky just to have the right people at the right time, just in the right situations. As far as with Head Start, school, therapist, I just come in contact with the right people.
go. Yeah. What a blessing to have the right people in place when you need them. Drea.
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to tap into answer that question because we've moved schools quite a bit. I live in Charleston County, so I know some of the other counties. I think most people in here are from Georgetown County, so that may not always be an option. But for me, I've changed schools quite a bit with my boys to make sure that they were receiving exactly what was needed at the time, and what they received in elementary school wasn't necessarily what was needed in middle school. And I'm terrified because my son's in 8th grade this year and we're transitioning to high school, so we'll see what next school year brings. But we definitely had to move around to find the proper setting for both of the boys.
Yes, and when I'm your listening ear, I know that you advocate. You stand 10 toes down for your boys, and if the school is not providing what they said they would or what your boys need, I absolutely love how you intervene early and often. So, absolutely. Um, did I see another hand? Okay. All right. So when we think about advocating, as we talked about, and how that educational setting can be so critical to your child's growth and development, what do you think has been your most effective advocacy strategies in the school settings? So, in other words, like IEP meetings, etc. Like, what do you think has been the most effective advocacy strategy? Eric.
I think a team setting. Um, when Gerard goes into his IEP meeting, we have a team for him. Me, my wife, and my mother-in-law. So we already did our research, and when we go in there, we pretty much know what we want for Gerard. So we have a team already on the same page. I think being a team is most important.
Mm, absolutely. It's a team sport for sure, Eric. Thank you. What other comments or perspective would you like to share from the panel? Jessica.
And also making sure, like I did for a year, I had to stop working and I made sure we did speech therapy, occupational therapy, and ABA therapy in school and also at home outside of school, where I would take them to like the Georgetown Pediatrics for speech therapists and occupational therapists on Thursday. And then ABA therapy used to come to the house and service them. So just getting
Hmm.
them that they needed to help them go along.
Yeah. Building that team of support. And Miss Tiffany, what would you like to add to that conversation? Thank you, Jessica.
Oh, I was just going to say, making sure you, again, educate yourselves before you go into your IEP meetings for sure, knowing what goals you want for your child. And that would involve you definitely going to the classroom, sitting in the classroom, getting involved, seeing what the teacher does, what the aide does. So, you're involved with that. You can see what's going on in the classroom so you can come up with good, strong goals for your child to achieve. So, like I said, just making sure you're involved in educating yourself about that IEP process before the
Yes.
meeting.
Thank you, Miss Tiffany. And what I've learned is Wayne and Latanya.
No, I was agree with all the moms, but also coming from the educator perspective, just always used to tell my parents, even though I was the LEA, you are the lead of the team. And so, like Tiffany said, if you're educating yourself, the people on the other side of the table may provide suggestions, but you don't have to, at that point, decide yes. You can take some time and go back and research and figure out, is this the best fit for my child before we come to consensus. So I've been on both, I've been blessed to be on both sides as the parent and the LEA. So to know that I may not agree with what they're saying at that moment until I educate myself. And I always try to tell my parents when I sat at the table with them to say, make sure you are understanding everything that's being said at this meeting, because at the end of the day, it's a team effort, but you're the head of this team.
Yeah, great perspective. Because, that's going into the next question as far as, what tips could you share with our panel regarding how do you build a strong relationship with the teachers, with the aides? Because as you all have stated, you're your child's biggest advocate, but on the other end of that table, they may not be as fully vested, or their recommendations may not be what you agree with, as Latanya stated. So what tips do you have to ensure that there is a strong relationship that you have with the teachers and the aide? I'm certain trust and transparency plays a piece of that, but what would you all add to that question? Miss Shaquetta.
All right, hopefully you all can hear me. But I feel like as being having a child with special needs, we are their biggest advocates. So sometimes we could be a little defensive sometimes. So I learned to be an active listener, especially during IEP meetings, and remember that we are a team together. I have my best child interests at heart, but they should as well. So I can't, although I research and try to study and have my game plan before I go in the meetings, I have to always have an open mind to listen to their suggestions. Like Mrs. Goodson said, I think just now, like so I can listen to their suggestions, go home, research those suggestions, and see what is the best for my child, and to just let them know that we are a team, not to always be so defensive or not to always have a closed mind, just to always go with the open mind and remember that everyone is looking out for your child or should be, and their suggestions sometimes might be something great. So just always be open for change. And although we might have in our mind that this is what our child needs, it might be something else that they need. The teacher is the one with them most of the day, to be honest. So they may have a better suggestion than what I have. So just be an open and active listener and be willing to accept change sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Great addition to that conversation, Shaquetta. I love the theme of the proactive planning and preparation that each of you have as you prepare for those conversations, and to open your mind and heart to what that conversation can and should sound like. And when you think about how emotionally tolling this could be and how it impacts your family life, how has parenting a child with autism affected your family dynamics? Eric?
It changed me. It made me more patient, made me more understanding, made me more creative. Um, he spread that throughout the household, just like they say you got to be gentle or parenting. We've all learned that when Gerard, even when he gets upset, he understands that he has support. So we show him the support and things like that. So and he adapts pretty well now from it. So he's thrived through it as well. So I think if you just let him lead and we follow him, then we understand better.
Mm. Well said, Eric. What other thoughts or comments can we share about just how this experience has impacted your family dynamics? And then, because we've talked a lot about what you do for your children, what you do for yourself is something I'm quite curious about. What do you do for self care and to manage the caregiver stress that certainly has to be a part of your life as well? OJ?
Self-care, I do take at least once or twice out of the month. I get away, and not get away as in run away, but meaning I have an older daughter. She's 21 and she'll watch. I have 6 kids altogether. But the 4 little ones she will get for me. And I feel like that's very important, not just for people who have a child on the spectrum, but for parents in general. We need that break. We need that reset. And if we do the same thing every day, it's going to be too much on our mind, too much on our heart, too much on our spirit. So I take at least once, twice, or I get my hair done or my nails done. I feel like that's time for me. You understand? We need that. We can't just, we will burn ourselves out. And I've met a lot of parents who are burned out because they don't want to trust a parent, another family member with their child, which is understandable. But we do have to find someone who we do trust, who understands, and that we can, have that release and that time of reset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm certain that's quite difficult, but OJ, I absolutely concur with you that some self-care time is so important, and burnout is real. What other thoughts or comments could you all contribute to how you're taking care of yourself or implementing some self-care routines into your daily life?
I'll add, like OJ, just I try to just, have time to myself, or with just my husband and I, we definitely try to at least once a month have some just downtime. I am fortunate, like OJ, I have an older daughter, but our parents, aunts and uncles, have been, really great with stepping in to give us a break when needed. So that respite is absolutely important. But I do understand that sometimes it's difficult when you don't have individuals that you fully trust with your children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what I admire, Drea, is when you put on the autism walk every year, providing rewards, prizes that focus on the caregiver and giving them something that rewards them, I think is so important. And if I wasn't there in person, but I was there in heart, but wasn't there a huge getaway into a very nice hotel most recently? Tell us more about what you were able to do.
Yes, and that is one of the goals with the Autism Walk, with our giveaways, is just making sure that the parents that are in attendance, that hopefully they're able to, walk away with something that's some type of self-care, whether it's a pampering basket or it's, dinner for two. And this year we were actually able to give away a hotel stay. The parent who won is not on with us, but we were actually able to give away a hotel stay as well as dinner for too. And that self-care, like we want parents to, be able to go and have downtime and enjoy themselves. So that is, definitely a part of our walk and giving back to our parents.
I think it's amazing. Great job. And then you all talked about your village, and I've heard several of you talk about your older children who are very critical part of the village that you lean on to help support with taking care of your children with autism. How do you support the siblings of the child with autism? What does that look like in your family dynamics?
I don't know if you can
Bree?
see me.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, my daughter is 6 and she's the little mama, but I just make sure that she has her moments too. I try my best not to, just make sure that she knows that she's still a child. She doesn't have to do everything because like I said, she's the little mama. So she tries her best to help out as much as possible, but I also let her know that she doesn't have to do everything.
Mm-hmm. Great perspective. Thank you. Miss Tiffany?
Oh, yes, I was just going to add to that. I have a 18-year-old daughter who's graduating this year, and it's been a lot. But somehow me and my husband have found that balance because she plays sports, so we were going a lot with basketball with her and having her in AAU. So it was a lot to find a balance with him and her, and then him with his therapies and stuff like that. But thank God there's two of us, so we were able to find that balance where one could be, my husband would either go with my daughter and I would stay with my son, or vice versa. But both of them had a lot going on. With Jameson with ABA, he would get ABA every day, and she had games going on, and just stuff like that. So just praying to God and finding that balance, because at one point we thought we were like, not paying enough attention to my daughter at one time. And then right now, sometimes we feel like we pay too much attention to her, then not paying enough attention to him. But somehow we just find that balance somewhere in the middle, and it all works out. Yeah.
I think the key word you said there, Miss Tiffany, is balance, right? Not all days will be the same. Drea?
Um, us, it was absolutely a juggling act, and it was a struggle with my daughter, who's almost 10 years older than my oldest son, who is diagnosed. So she was around middle school when we received the or about to head into middle school when we received the diagnosis, and she was into everything. She was in sports and cheering and all the activities, and everything pretty much just, had to be put on pause for her. And I did feel guilty for a really long time because I couldn't find a balance, especially with, both of my boys, with all the therapies and appointments. It was very, very hard. But like Bree said, she stepped in wherever she could. She said mom, and still is, but it was definitely difficult to find that balance. And then I woke up and she was graduating high school. So that the time goes by quickly. So for, parents who have multiple children, definitely find that balance as soon as you can.
Absolutely. Great addition, great addition. And so we talk about the village, we talked about your children, but when it comes to the community and support, and I see that Miss Doris Randall, with you having three grandchildren with autism, I'm certain you are part of a village that your family truly depends on. And I thank you for joining us tonight. But when we talk about community and support and the village, I would be curious to learn from you all what types of support networks, what type of therapies or resources have been the most valuable to you? Jessica?
I would say outside ABA therapy.
Tell us more.
The ABA therapy used to come to the house, and for both of them, they would do them individually and work with them. And they work with them on just about everything, a wide variety: schoolwork, social skills, playing games, how to interact with people, how to just do a lot of stuff that help them be able to process and move along in school much better.
Mm, thank you. Other perspectives on the outside network support therapies that have been very beneficial to you or most valuable? Miss Tiffany?
My son doesn't get ABA anymore, but I would definitely say that was beneficial. But the last company that he was getting ABA from was SOS Healthcare, I believe, and them offering the social groups, social outings, and things like that outside of ABA, I thought were definitely beneficial to him. And the other, and not just SOS. Oh, the group is Can Champ. Right, Latanya, help me out, honey. Let's Can organization. They do a lot of, yeah. You can elaborate on that, honey. Go ahead.
So to piggyback it off of what Tiffany said, SOS does have Friday nights, and so that is a form of respite for us. When you were asking the question, how do you find that time? Granted, there is nothing in Georgetown, and we do have to go to Myrtle Beach, but we usually do that on twice a month, where they will keep the kids for what, 2 hours,
2 hours.
and the parents can go, have a dinner or go shopping or whatever, just for that 2 hours, and the kids are in a safe place. But the other company in Myrtle Beach, Champion Autism Network, um, they allow families who have kids on the spectrum to enjoy activities like bowling and the trampoline park, or Ripley's Aquarium. So, it is, what we love about it is, especially for the movies, the lights are up, the sound is down, and it's a no judgment zone because kids are walking around the movie where kids wouldn't be able to, kids on the spectrum wouldn't they would be expected to sit down and listen to the movie or look at the movie and not make any noise. Where Champion Autism has created these safe space where our kids can be themselves.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I'm learning. I'm learning. That's great that you're sharing these resources that help for the children and for yourselves. And then you talked about, I'm sorry, Dre, did I see your hand?
Yes, I just wanted to share as far as resource, because of course there's so many resources, but when I think of the resources that were really important, as everyone mentioned, just starting out early in everyone's journey, I think BabyNet's been great, fabulous for us, and I'm sure other families as well as disabilities and special needs, who typically would link you with a case manager. I'm not sure if everyone has case management services, but we receive case management services, Autism Society. So those are great resources. And I wanted to ask you, I'm not sure what your next question was going to be, Chastity, because I believe most of the families here are from the Georgetown County area. And I know resources are limited, but if there's like any resources, if you could bring them to Georgetown, what would they be? Or what do you think Georgetown needs the most in terms of resources?
Well, definitely, like Latanya was talking about, the outings would be excellent. Having something for the kids to do, getting them together socially, and a social environment and fun activities for them to do would be awesome. But you know, I mean, that would be the biggest thing. So social skills are the biggest things for our kids. So I think just trying to coordinate activities for them to do locally. So parents, the parents who are not able to travel far, something close would be excellent.
Great question. I've learned about the Myrtle Beach resources that Latanya and Tiffany spoke about. And to piggyback off of that, so Latanya was talking about how, they can go to the movies and there's not that judgment or expectation for them to sit still, right? So how do you all deal with the judgment or just simply the lack of understanding from others? Tiffany?
You pray that God gives you patience and understanding to deal with people of ignorance, and
Amen.
and you educate them when able. You educate them when able. Yes, I think people fear what they don't understand, and judge what they don't understand. Because if they knew, they wouldn't steer or they wouldn't say things. So I just
Mhm.
feel like if you have the opportunity to educate someone who is uneducated about a situation, just give them knowledge, and
Yeah.
hopefully they'll share their mindset,
Yeah.
change their mindset.
Yeah. A lot of times you say people have not because they know not. And each of you tonight are helping others learn about autism and be more aware. Absolutely. Any other perspective as far as how do you handle that lack of understanding, that judgment, sometimes downright ignorance?
I think I would just agree with what Miss Tiffany has stated. Just patience for, in certain areas. I mean, even dealing with family early on, that was difficult. So it took educating them for them to understand. Because you have, some old school aunts and uncles, grandparents who just feel like it's a behavior concern, and they want to deal with them the way they deal with typical behaviors. But as we all know, that does not work for our children with autism. So it's educating and patience. I was in church one time, and a young lady, my son was, he was having a meltdown, and she said, well, you should pray for him before he comes to church. And thank God we was at church, because some people just, when they're uneducated and they like the knowledge of, what's going on, they say anything. But I thank God for patience. I do.
Amen. Eric, did I see your hand? Did I see your hand, Eric?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. And I'm reading comments from Miss Doris. She's a mother of 9, 29 grandchildren, and 6 great grands, all put together for the sake of our family to make their lives easier and productive. Amen. What a village you have. It takes a village. And then our last question, right? Because each of you have talked about your journey at various stages and phases in your child's diagnosis process. And a key piece of what we want this conversation and this dialogue to do is provide best practices, tips, and insight for those, no matter where they're at in their journey. So, what advice would you give to a parent who just received their child's autism diagnosis? OJ.
Give yourself some grace. You're going to have to give yourself some grace, because there'll be times that you are not going to understand, and not going to understand what's going on. And you're going to have to give yourself some grace, because you're going to get upset. You're going to be sad. There are going to be so many emotions. But if you give yourself grace up front, you'll be able to handle everything afterwards.
Well said. Ashley.
Ask the hard questions, or ask any questions, whatever comes to your mind that you think might be helpful to you. It might not only help you, it might help someone else. So just ask the questions.
Good one. Tiffany.
I was going to say, try not to blame yourself, because like Aaron mentioned, I blamed myself earlier when his diagnosis was trying to say, well, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? So just getting away from that, because there's nothing we've done. It's just something. And I had to accept the fact that, God has made my son like this. And it's just something we have to deal with and embrace. And he's a joy. And just embrace the situation, and definitely, like I said, educate yourself as much as possible, and getting the support you need, because we have a support group in Georgetown, and I would definitely say me going to that support group has helped me out a lot. Hearing what other people have gone through, or going through the same thing that you go through, help. So definitely getting support, I think, is a big deal too.
Great insight. Wayne and Latanya.
You want to say something? Just having the support, and like she said, the autism support group. I was always someone that asked questions. I needed to seek others, because this is a journey. Even though everybody walks the journey by themselves, but we all share commonalities. So just having that strong support and asking questions.
All great perspectives you all are sharing. Eric.
Educate yourself against the stigma.
Jessica. You're on mute, Jessica.
I would say stand strong, stand 10 toes behind your kids, and never let them see your weakness.
Drea.
And I would agree with what everyone has stated, as far as just making sure that you educate yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions if there's something you do not understand. Definitely surround yourself with a village if you can, and finding the supports, as they mentioned, like the family support group or whatever support group, if you can become a part of one. There's a lot of groups online now, but definitely just finding someone that you could communicate with when times are difficult.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts or comments for someone who just received their child's autism diagnosis? Well, I know that we had a robust panel, lots of great questions, lots of great responses and insight and perspectives from each of you subject matter experts, but it may not have been everything. Are there questions or comments that either of you would like to share that perhaps we didn't ask about or discuss tonight that would be beneficial? I open the floor for open discussion.
There's no question, but I know when my son first got diagnosed, they were saying that we needed to sign up for these waivers. So if you guys haven't, I'm encouraging you to make sure you sign up for the waivers that offer like respite care and um, what's the other option? But I know one is the respite care because honestly, my son has that waiver and it is very helpful. So making sure you sign up for those waivers if your doctor has told you about those.
Mm-hmm. Great insight, Tiffany. Okay, so it has been an honor for me to learn from and with you all. I'm going to turn it back to Drea to close us out.
All right. I just want to say to everyone, thank you again for taking time out of your schedules to come on with us tonight to talk about autism and continue to spread autism awareness. As we mentioned, April is Autism Awareness Month, but for everyone on this panel tonight, we deal with it day in and day out. So thank you all for coming in. Thank everyone on this panel. They're all great advocates for not only their children, but, other children with special needs. And in the autism community, there are several members who are part of various organizations to assist families and individuals with special needs. I don't think anyone would, if you reached out to them or if you saw them and had questions, I think all of our parents on the panel tonight would definitely be open to having a conversation and assisting you in any way that you can. And I did want to mention, I know we talked about it, the Art Foundation at the Walk. The Art Foundation is a foundation that my family, we are starting for my two boys who are diagnosed with autism, as well as Jessica's two boys, my nephews who are diagnosed with autism. Our goal is to bring more resources into Georgetown County community. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. I know they're boots on the ground already in Georgetown. So our goal is to connect with, what you all are already doing in Georgetown County to hopefully bring more resources for us to pull together to make things better for our children and young adults in the Georgetown County area. So hopefully we could connect really soon in the future to bring more events and resources down to Georgetown. So thank you all again. Does anyone have any additional questions or comments? Miss Latanya, did you want to mention the group, your parent group down in Georgetown? Or Miss Tiffany?
Okay, well, the Georgetown support group normally it meets the first, oh gosh, Bree, what day is it we meet? This month we're meeting Monday coming. We usually meet the first Tuesday, sorry. But this month we are meeting Monday, May 5th, and it is at the Georgetown County Library from 6:30 to 7:30. And like I think Tiffany said earlier, it's just a time that we all can get together and just share ideas, share resources, share our stories and our journeys and learn from each other. So if anyone is interested, again, it's Monday, May 5th, 6:30 to 7:30 at the Georgetown County Library.
All right. And Miss OJ?
So we have Fruits of the Spirit Autism Awareness. We're out of Somerville. We just provide resources, same way. We just want to broadcast what's in the area with speech therapy, occupational therapy. We want to be a resource, as in support for people who are just getting the diagnosis. I'm sorry about my background. Okay, Jared. For parents who are just before the diagnosis, during the diagnosis, and after the diagnosis. We just want to be there. We just want to be a resource and a support system to families in this area, other areas. We're all over. We're just here to help.
Thank you. And Mr. Morton?
I have a program called I Can Mentoring where we help kids deal with different mental issues as well as with autism. We do a series called Slam Series where we work on sports, life skills, academic, and the mental health and tie it into wherever they're dealing with. So we try to tie them back in so they can be more productive.
Thank you. And did I miss anyone who may want to share out anything that's going on or coming up, anything that you're working on? All right. Well, if not, thank you all again. Thank you, Mrs. Chastity Charles, for hosting tonight. And a huge thank you to Mr. Jamal Richardson, who's behind the scenes. I could definitely not do this with him. So thank you so much, Mr. Jamal, for putting us together and allowing us to come on your platform tonight to close out Autism Awareness Month. All right. Thanks, everyone.